Welcome everyone to the Haslett Board of Education. It is February 10th, right? Did I have that right? All right. I'm going to call this meeting to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So at Wilkshire, Zero the Hero visited to celebrate the 100th day of school. He helped the students count to 100 in a few different ways. Wilkshire's annual toiletry drive started today, and they're collecting toiletry items from the 10th to the 20th. At Murphy, as the second semester has started, our student growth has been tremendous since the beginning of the year. Popcorn Fridays have started at Murphy. Every other Friday, students and staff enjoy some delicious popcorn at school just in time for the weekend. At Raleigh is working on their hallway cares expectations by keeping the hallways clean. Lucky students have received tickets in their boots from the boot fairy when their boots and outdoor gear are put away neatly. At the middle school, this past week, the middle school had Spirit Week related to the upcoming musical of Mary Poppins. The 8th grade went to the Wharton Center, and the 7th grade went to the Holocaust Museum. And at the high school, the National Honor Society sponsored a blood drive on the 4th. Staff and students donated a total of 36 units of blood, saving potentially 108 lives. And at the advisory board, at our last meeting, we dove further into Imagine 2030, analyzing what the student population would like the district, specifically at the high school level, to look at. Discussing topics to be further introduced and analyzed and taught to our students, such as data security and using the internet safely, as well as personal finance. And integrating elements from Imagine 2030, as well as feedback analyzed from the survey we sent out in December, and to better make our high school future for the next several years to come. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. All right, we will move on now to our discussion items. First, we have our high school, middle school band teachers who will talk about the MSBOA All-State Band. Was it just Mr. Larson? Or we got more? Okay. All right. Good to see you again, Mr. Larson.
Thank you. Good to see you guys too. Come on up here, guys. Put you front and center. All right. We have tonight our representatives from our middle school and high school bands who participated in the Michigan School Band and Orchestra Association's All-State. So we'd like to recognize those students. So each year, the Michigan School Band and Orchestra Association, they have 16 districts divided up geographically across the state, sponsor the All-State auditions. These are live recorded auditions, so the students have one chance to make their recording of a prepared etude that every student in the state that auditions on their instrument prepares the same etude, scales that they play, and then sight reading. So they get a piece of music they've never seen before, 60 seconds to look it over, and then play. And so in late November, those recordings are listened to, and students are selected to chair in the All-State Bands and Orchestras. And then they are notified in December if they have made it. And then in January at the Michigan Music Conference in Grand Rapids, the bands will rehearse on a Thursday, Friday, and then perform a Saturday concert. A little bit breakdown of the 2025 All-State Band, Jazz Band, and Orchestras. We had 2,764 auditions were scheduled across the MSBOA 16 district. We had 10 students from Haslett participate in the audition process, and 3 were accepted into the middle school and high school All-State bands. The All-State High School Band was conducted by composer and former teacher Randall Standridge. who lives in Arkansas. He's a trending composer, and our Haslett bands, middle school and high school, have played numerous of his compositions. He's kind of the trending guy right now. The middle school band was conducted by Dr. Jamal Duncan, who's on the faculty of Arizona State University. He's a native of Flint and spent some time teaching in the Lansing Public Schools before earning his doctorate of musical arts and wind conducting at Michigan State. Representing our high school band, Spencer Locke. Spencer was one of 6 instrumentalists in the high school all-state tuba section. He's a senior and has an impressive resume playing tuba in our marching and concert bands, in addition to performing with the Spartan Youth Wind Symphony. That's kind of a semester-long honors band at Michigan State. They rehearse on Sundays and play a concert at the end of each semester. He's also participated, and it kind of pains me to say this, but the Western Michigan University All-Star Band. No, it's a great group. Great facilities over there. And he's also participates fully in the MSBOA solo and ensemble festivals at both the district and state level. And he's currently in the process of auditioning for music schools.
Excuse me one sec. Which
Yeah.
one's Spencer?
Spencer, right here, yep. And Rocco, on my far left, he's a freshman, percussionist in our symphonic band. And during marching season, he played in the bass drum line. And during our concert season, like all of our percussionists, he rotates between mallet instruments and battery. He was selected 1 out of 8 percussionists to perform in the high school all-state band and had the opportunity to perform on multiple percussion instruments for each of the 5 pieces. He also participates in solo and ensemble festival as well. And then representing our middle school, right in the middle, we have Easton. Easton Vessel is an 8th grade student and our first middle school band student in over a decade to participate in the MSBOA All-State Band. He is currently being mentored by Spencer, and he was 1 out of 6 instrumentalists in the tuba section and has participated in the middle school solo and ensemble festival and is looking forward to marching with the sousaphone next fall. So a huge honor for these students to go up against, the entire state of Michigan, 2,700 auditions being scheduled, and to get selected into the top ensembles. So truly a remarkable process, and that they have work diligently. This is all extra on top of what they do in regular band class during the day. This is extra on top of all of their other studies that they do in all of their other classes. So I couldn't be more proud of these students representing our program and our school and community.
Any members have any questions or comments for, yeah, please.
And Easton, I really like your tie. I was noticing that.
So I have a comment. You guys should make a band, add 1 person, and call yourselves Tuba 4. Think about it. Also, the world simply wouldn't work without music. So keep doing what you're doing, guys.
I just want to congratulate you all. I'm lucky enough to know 2 of you, and we'll probably be getting to know Easton next year when he comes to the high school, having a marching band member. I'm lucky enough to know that these young men are also very active in all sorts of other extracurriculars, so this is just one thing that they do, and just want to congratulate you all on your hard work and being able to see the rewards.
I would echo congratulations to the 3 of you. We really appreciate you, and thank you for representing our community well. And thank you to Mr. Larson, who has a piece in this as well.
Yes,
So
and Mrs. Carpenter.
I got to push the record button at the audition day.
I think you're being a little bit modest, but thank you as well, Mr. Larson.
I just want to say, I think we have all of
Some
your
parents
we have
here?
parents in the back
Parents
too.
right here.
So we
Yes.
appreciate the parents too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I think they're going to head out. They have homework and other activities.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Mr. Hatch. He's going to give us an update on Murphy.
Before you guys leave, just one thing. Before you leave, all 3 of those students are from Murphy. And I had Rocco and Spencer in my 5th grade classes, and I was Easton's principal. So great job, you guys. But Mr. Larson and I planned this perfectly. It worked out great.
Well, then we owe you a small thank you too, Mr.
I
Hatch.
think a large thank you. I've talked to the Locks about this for years, so they know. No, I'm kidding. Those kids are great. I've known Spencer since he was in 2nd grade, and it's just amazing to see the things that they do when they grow up. So it's awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody letting me come in tonight. What I have here is just a snip of what's going on at Murphy. It isn't everything, but I just wanted to share some of the highlights and then some of the things that we're working on as a school. This picture here is from our fun run. We always have consequences for me when we reach certain levels, and this year they earned duct taping me to the wall. So this is actually Mrs. Fogarasi's 2nd grade class, and to tell the truth, when I had a little stool, but when they moved it out, it held me up. So that was a lot of fun. That's just some of the fun things that we do. One of the big things so far we've done this year is our literacy night, where we had over 200 Murphy family members join us. It was a sports theme this year, and you can see that the kids are in uniforms down there. We had some wonderful balloon art done by our lovely PTO, and it was just a ton of family literacy-based games and reading. One of the big things was that we had MSU football players come in and read to the kids, so that was a wonderful thing. And that is Paula Dobson's son up there, if you're just wondering. Some of the clubs that we've had going on so far at Murphy, currently we have the Earth Club, which is, I think, both at Murphy and Raleigh, where we have students from the high school come and work with the kids and teach them about the earth. Miss Meggie is our teacher coordinator with that, too, so she's there. And I go in there all the time to see what's going on. It's really interesting to see the things that I used to teach as a 5th grade teacher. They're doing a lot of those activities right there with those kids, and they range from 2nd to 5th grade, so it's awesome. And then something new this year we started was our chess club. We had it last year actually at the library, but this year we decided to bring it to the school. We ran out of space because there were so many kids that wanted to do it, but we were able to have 27 students work with, it was a student from Michigan State who was the same person that coached it last year. He came once a week for 6 straight weeks, and the kids learned how to play chess, and they had a lot of fun. Musical performances and art shows. So far, we've had our 5th and 3rd grade classrooms perform. Mrs. Reif does an amazing job of mixing things up. The 3rd graders did more dancing, and it was a family-style thing where we got a lot of people out onto the floor and dance and sang together. And then their 5th grade students had their performances just before winter break. And our 2nd and 4th grade performances will happen before the end of the year. And then tomorrow night, as a matter of fact, we have our first art show of the year. Ms. Kahn started that last year in our school, and it's awesome. She has these trifold boards that the kids put their work on, and she does it by grade levels so that you can see exactly what your child is doing and then see what else the other kids have done. They get to pick their own artwork, which I think is amazing, and the kids love to show what they do. She's been a true blessing to our school over the last 2 years as being an art teacher, and the kids just make wonderful, wonderful art with her. Field trips, some of the things that we've done so far is our 5th grade students went to Wharton. Our 4th grade students, right before winter break and just after winter break, went to Impression 5 for 3 days. Our 3rd graders, we actually had our first 2 groups go today to the Capitol. And we have many more field trips to come, including some of the big ones, the biggest one being our 5th grade Mackinac trip at the end of the year. So kids are really excited about that. I know our 4th grade goes over to, I think they're going back to PJ Hoffmaster this year. It's been closed for a little bit, but I think they're going back there. Our 2nd grade does do field trips. They did go to the Historical Village at the beginning of the year, but I think they're going to do a couple more before the end of the year. So those are great opportunities for kids to go and explore and learn things outside of their classrooms. Just some of the fundraiser things that we do at Murphy. Obviously, our Murphy Fun Run is a big one. We've done some Culver's nights already to help with some of the costs of the field trips. Little Caesars Pizza is another one for that. We did a Nothing Bundt Cake one and the Cravings Popcorn. And our school is very generous. Our families are amazing, and they help us out a lot. And, you know, some of the things that they help pay for. And this is usually led by our Murphy PTO, which is a really strong group of people that I work with. We meet once a month to talk about things. They help plan all of these wonderful activities for the kids. But they've been able to make substantial donations to help the cost of field trips, including scholarships from those students that might need that assistance. We've had new instruments bought for the music class. One of the neat things to see, and Diane actually came over and saw it today, is Jeff Batten has worked with the photographer that works at the high school for the athletes, and he's asked if he could use the pictures of the students in action. And then he called the parents and said, would you mind if we put pictures of Haslett athletes up in our gym? So if you go into our gym, we have, right now, I think there's currently 10 pictures of current or former Haslett students from all different sports. And the reason why Jeff wanted to do that is because he wanted the kids to see that they themselves could be up there one day. And so he actually was approved to get 10 more, which I think is just awesome. So, and he'll cycle through, so it isn't just a stagnant thing. We'll start adding new posters up every year. And then obviously we get a lot of grants for our teachers approved through our PTO. So they're an amazing group of people, wonderful to work with, and they really do help our school. There are a lot of things we're working on at Murphy. We talked about the Imagine 2030. We have that going on. We've been working with literacy, and we have our district and our school goals. But one of the things that I think is most important is that we're working with Josh Cooper, who is a MTSS behavior person at the Ingham ISD, and he's come to help us with our positive behavior initiative, or PBIS, with our students. When you hear of MTSS, a lot of the time you just hear about helping with reading and helping with math. We actually had this conversation today, but it is a much broader range of help. And one of the things that we're working on is getting a really good, solid system in our school for behavior expectations and things to help with students. And, the 3 tiers are for behavior as well. We recently did an inventory with him, and it showed us what our strengths were and where our weaknesses are. I've been working with Stephanie Horath over at Wilkshire and Aaron North at Raleigh, where we're trying to do things consistently so that no matter what building the kids go to, they're getting the same expectations with the same vocabulary. We do have a behavior matrix up that is, we have the main one, and then we have some placed around the building that just give the kids very simple reminders of what they're expected to do at certain locations in the building. Unfortunately, they say Murphy Mustangs, and we've now switched to Murphy Vikings, so we are going to have to change that over. But Josh is going to help us through that system, and then help our teachers with some training and some planning on how we can implement MTSS through behavior in our building. So that was a really quick run through of everything that's gone on at Murphy so far this year. There are a lot of other things that have gone on, but we are working really hard. The kids are doing a great job, and there's lots of smiles every day. So that's my quick report. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, I got a shout out to your staff and to you. I think it's incredible for the fundraisers, all of the activities that you engage in and how you support the kids and the whole community. It's incredible. The kids enjoy it. I know my son personally, he looks forward to, we're going to do this today. And it really creates a community and a sense of pride. So I just want to say that I'm really grateful that you do that. And then also the literacy night was amazing. It was so detailed. There's so many different options, so much thought and planning went into that. So I just wanted to thank you and your staff for coordinating that, because it was extremely detailed, and I'm sure it took a lot of time and energy to coordinate that.
I appreciate that. And Jessica Harden is a big part of that with the Literacy Night. But in case you don't know what Amy's talking about, some of the things that I've done this year for the fundraiser, we start low and we work our way up. Have you ever heard of the Bean Boozled Challenge before? It's Jelly Belly jelly beans, and there's a spinner. And there's 2 flavors, one that's the normal flavor and one that looks just like the normal flavor but is not. And once we reach a certain level, I have a teacher send down a kid from each classroom So I have to do this 16 times. And this year, out of the 16, 13 were the bad kind. And the teachers say their favorite part is seeing my face and my reaction to them. After about 8, it all just tastes the same, and it tastes horrible. But that's one of the things we did. I've been slimed many times. I've had pies thrown at me many times. One of the favorite things the kid did is I kissed a pig, and I kissed it in every classroom. The duct taping to the wall. I've had to ride around the school on a bike one day. That was actually a lot of fun. That one I enjoyed quite a bit. So it's the things, and actually the way we pick it is we have a spinner, and we have a kickoff assembly, and whatever it lands on is what I have to do. And a couple years ago, Kiss the Pig was the big one, but it didn't land on it, so I jokingly did one more, and then I stopped it, and the place went nuts. So the kids really get into it, and our parents, we have such great support at our school. I can't thank them enough, and the community at large. We have our PTO goes out and gets donations from all over the place, and it's just, it really helps us out a lot. But thank you, Amy, I do appreciate that recognition.
Hold on. Where'd you get the pig?
It's a local farm here in Haslett. He had one, and he hadn't named it yet, so we named him Murphy when he got there. And it was a little tiny one that they carried around. And actually, a couple teachers wanted to do it too, so they kissed the pig as well. It's not that bad. It's really not that bad.
I'm going to pass, but
Thank you. Again, when you do it 16 times, you kind of get used to it by the end of it.
Anyone else for Mr. Hatch? Thank you, Mr. Hatch.
I do want to say one more
Appreciate
thing. If you hear children say that I am Zero the hero, you can remind them that it's not me.
Okay.
All right.
As much as I look like him and sound like him, it's just, if you tell the kids it's not me, I appreciate that. So thank you.
Will do.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hatch. We appreciate it. All right. Vice President Collins, I hope you have a full glass of water because our next agenda item is the first reading of proposed new and revised board policies, the 3000 series. So I will allow you to take it away.
Sure. And for those of you following along, there are 4s and 5s still to come at you. So this is round 1 of the 3000s. And this one, just to make it more interesting, the law has changed. And so it's going to get a little confusing, but we'll do our best to explain why we're doing a first reading twice. We'll get there. Let's just follow along, please. You guys have had this in the shared drive to look over as well. We've met as a personnel and policy committee and gone through all of this as well. Once again, this is a first reading of the 3000s of the Troon School Board policy. These policies cover operations, finance, and property. Many of these policies are required by law, and we do not have many options when it comes to the policies because we have to follow the law. The Policy Personnel Committee has met multiple times with Superintendent Malley and our Finance Director, Rick Jensen, and Associate Superintendent Lindberg to discuss the policies and any possible changes. The working document has been in your shared drive. And another reminder for everybody, although we are doing first, second readings of the policies, and if they're approved, we're adopting them, none of these will take effect until August 1st, 2025. So our regular policies that are on our website are still our policies until August 1st, okay? So we still follow Neola policies just to make sure you understand, okay? Okay, I'll take a sip of water. Here we go. If I miss something, please stop me, and if I'm going too fast, because I made a script. All right. Policy 3101 covers insurance and says that the board will purchase insurance as required by law. Policy 3102 is about smoking, tobacco products, drugs, and alcohol. These are prohibited at any district-related event. This includes e-cigarettes and vapes. You'll see 3 areas in there where we have reserved, if you see that. Whenever you see reserved, that's for us to come back to at a later date or discuss if law changes and things like that. So if you see reserved. Policy 3103 is about copyright compliance, and this policy reflects copyright law. Policy 3104 is about school cameras, which we do have school cameras. We included language to reflect the fact that we have cameras on our school buses as well. Policy 3105 is about visitors and volunteers and the procedures they must follow in order to be in our buildings. We have a check-in procedure and secure vestibules, and that is reflected in the policy. We also have a reserve section, and that was about transporting students by private vehicle as well, so there's policies surrounding that too. Policy 3106 covers booster clubs, PTOs, and support groups, and lists general rules that these groups need to follow, and includes all the forms that they have to fill out. Policy 3107 is the use of detection dogs to find illegal drugs or contraband, and describes how the dogs may be used, and we do use those, just so you know. Policy 3108 is about service animals and the rules surrounding the use of service animals. Policy 3109 covers curricular animals. So those are animals that are used for instruction, and that policy also includes therapy dogs. Policy 3110 is about our data breach response. Policy 3111 is our drone policy, and people must have permission to fly a drone over any district policy. We adopted, I think, our original drone policy. Nothing's changed with that. Policy 3112 says that the board will adopt a calendar each school year and that we will follow the law about the number of days and hours required. Policy 3113 is about the district's use, storage, and transmission of Social Security numbers, and describes how those are stored and private, and describes who has access to those. Policy 3114 covers litigations and lawsuits against the district. Okay. This is where it gets interesting. Policy 3115, A through H, is the Title IX policy. If you remember, we adopted the Troon Title IX policy in September, October. We were doing the readings and we adopted those. So you're gonna hear this twice because the law has changed. It is reverting back to 2020 Title IX policy, okay? So we have to do that. You'll see it as a first reading later on. We have to do it to keep the numbers correct. So we're gonna do it as a Troon adoption for August 1st, but then you're gonna hear it again. I'll do the quick version because we literally just adopted it, but the law changed, and so we have to update our current policy. Any questions on that? Did I describe it all right? Okay. Because it took a few times. We're like, why do we have to do this twice? So, but that is the Title IX policy that so we'll do the first reading of the other one as well. Policy 3116 is about district technology and our acceptable use policies. We simplified the language on what materials are inappropriate for minors. That's the best way to put it. It was really long, and so we just simplified that. We also chose options about electronic devices in testing rooms and what is allowed for both teachers and students. There was a lot of discussion about SAT, ACT, the difference between the different levels of tests, but basically no electronic devices, no. Policy 3117 covers intellectual property that the district controls. Policy 3118 is our non-discrimination covenant in contracts that the district is included in. Policy 3119 is about teachers doing pilot programs for the district. The committee is recommending adoption of the entire policy because we want to encourage pilot programs and encourage teachers to try new things. Very good. Policy 3120 is about Head Start COVID-19 mitigation. This is federal law. We designated who our administrators are and said that we had to pick low, medium, high. COVID levels were at low, so we chose low. So that's federal law on that one. Policy 3201 describes our financial accounting according to the law. Policy 3201A is the financial management of federal awards and is required by the feds, and we are keeping the whole policy because it is required by federal law. Mr. Jensen, thank you so much for guiding us through all of that. He's like, yep, law, do this. So that was helpful. Policy 3202 describes how the board must annually adopt a budget. Upon the recommendation of both Mr. Jensen and Superintendent Malley, we increased our goal for our fund balance to 12%. In the past, it's been 10%. But to be more in line with other districts and to lower our interest in borrowing costs, we thought it was a good idea to revise our goal going forward. Policy 3203 describes how we do bank deposits under state law. Policy 3204 is about the investment of funds. We updated our language to say chief business official throughout our policies as well. That's what Troon calls Mr. Jensen's position. So we wanted the language to be consistent all the way through. So we call him Director of Finance, but in here he's our chief business official, just so you know who he is. 3205 is about disbursements. We put limits on petty cash at each of the buildings and set that on $100. It also says that we cannot use district funds to buy alcohol, jewelry, gifts, golf fees, or illegal items. Policy 3206 allows us to levy property taxes according to the law. Policy 3207 describes our school activities fund and scholarship funds. Policy 3208 is about surety bonds. This is intentionally left blank because it's not a practice we use or one that we plan to use in the future. Policy 3209 is about debit and credit cards and says that it can only be used for official district business. Policy 3210 allows the district to borrow money according to state law. Policy 3211 is about post-issuance tax compliance and following the law. Policy 3212 is about post-issuance disclosure compliance and that our chief business official is responsible for coordinating compliance with the policy. This is the law. Policy 3213 is about electronic transactions of funds and automatic clearinghouse arrangements, ACH payments, and the chief business official is responsible for this. Policy 3301 describes our purchasing and procurement procedures. We did not see a need for the optional language because it was redundant. This describes our bidding process and how we award bids in the district. Policy 3301A is about purchasing and procurement and reflects federal law, state law, then federal law. Policy 3302 is about the acquisition of real property, and we said that subject to the board parameters, the superintendent may obtain, negotiate, modify, and execute transaction documents for the acquisition of property, so that we're not all doing that. We are designating him to do that. Policy 3303 covers gifts and donations to the districts. The superintendent can accept, not personally, but on behalf of the district, I better say that right, of $1,000 or less. But the board has to approve the acceptance of gifts over $1,000. We did choose the optional language about soliciting donations because we do fundraising in the district, and that policy will cover all of that. Policy 3304 is about the use of district property. We chose the optional language here defining a, quote, non-curricular education group. And we also said that the superintendent or designee will set the fees for renting district facilities. And we chose the optional language that does allow non-student groups to use our facilities. And this explains that our facilities are not a public forum as well. Lastly, we had to list out which facilities can be used by the public, and those are the track, the pool, and the associated locker rooms. And just so you know, that the pool area has separate locker rooms that are not in the rest of the building, so we had that discussion as well. Policy 3305 is about the sale or lease of district property, and we chose the language that allows the superintendent to obtain, negotiate, or modify transfer documents for any board-authorized transfer of district property. Policy 3306 is about construction bidding and the process for competitive bidding according to the law. Policy 3307 is about the policies and procedures for construction and district building improvements. We kept the optional language about adding on to buildings because we don't know what we'll need in the future, so we kept it open. It does follow the revised school code law about building new buildings and expanding older buildings, so following the law there. Policy 3308 is about the distribution of printed material and advertising in school. It is allowed but must follow the law and cannot be political, and we are allowed to make money from selling advertisements. That's like in the choir stuff, yeah. Okay. Policy 3309 says that we will allow the Michigan State Police to inspect our buses and that our buses must pass inspection. Policy 3401 allows us to cancel, delay, or have an early dismissal at school and activities to protect the health, safety, and welfare of everyone.
That's right.
Talking about Thursday.
I mean,
Thursday? Just kidding. Wednesday.
There's an expectation.
I mean, no pressure.
Students are living.
Policy 3402 describes our emergency and safety plans and reports as required by law. Policy 3403 requires that all accidents be reported to the building principal. Policy 3404 is about communicable diseases, and this is in accordance with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Policy 3405 is about bloodborne pathogens and how the district deals with an exposure and, of course, bloodborne pathogens training for staff. Policy 3406 is about our integrated pest management program. This is also in compliance with the law, and notices for that go out at the beginning of the school year. Policy 3407 is about asbestos management and appoints our chief facilities officer to oversee the district's compliance when it comes to asbestos. Policy 3408 covers firearms and weapons. We reserve the policy on the definition of antique firearms. We also took the optional language that defines exactly what a weapon is. We did not take any optional language of when there are exceptions because there are no exceptions. Okay. Policy 3409 is intentionally left blank by Troon. This is not left blank by us. It's a placeholder for Troon, and it doesn't have anything to do with us. It's just a place number so that their numbering system is correct. So. Policy 3410 is about opioid antagonists, otherwise known as Narcan. We adopted the entire policy. We just did that earlier as well. We just adopted that policy, and we do have Narcan. The school resource officer has that. Policy 3501A through F3 is about the Freedom of Information Act. It includes all of the forms used for FOIA requests, and we chose that we will not provide for fee appeals to the board. A lot of these pages just required us to fill in names and addresses of the district and who our designated FOIA person is, and who handles those requests. So that's that whole section. And the last one, policy 3502 is about our record retention, and we are required to retain records for a certain amount of time, depending what it is, according to state and federal law. Any questions?
Are there any questions for Vice President Collins? I can keep talking if you need to drink some water. Okay. I know, that's what, because next on our agenda is the first reading of proposed new and revised board policies for some 2600 level.
Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about before. So the numbers, basically the numbers, we have to adopt the policy now because the law changed. So we'll do a first reading, second reading, and then an adoption. And then the one that I just read is the same exact one, which will also take effect August 1st. It's the same policy. Okay?
Quick
Yes.
question.
Go ahead for clarification.
I know
please.
that these policies are available on our drive online. Are they also in the binders or?
Yes, they're in your binders and they're available for review for the public
Okay.
here in the administration building as well.
Are you, Molly, are you talking
Wait.
about these 2600s
The
here?
2600.
Oh, the
Yeah,
26,
So,
yeah.
so the 2600s that you're going to be looking at for the first reading,
Yes.
it's the exact same policies as the 3115s.
Okay.
numbering, yes,
Got
the
it.
numbers are
So-
different.
Thank you.
So our current numbering will be
Right.
changing as of August 1.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's what I was trying to say about the numbers, but you were much clearer. And we just adopted this recently. So
Yes.
nothing beside, the changes are from the law. So this one will be a little bit faster. We have policy 2660, which is non-discrimination, anti-harassment, and non-retaliation. Policy 2660A are the definitions for the 3000 series. It's okay. Policy 2660B are the designation of coordinators. Policy 2660C are supportive measures. Policy 2660D are the informal resolution policies. Policy 2660E, the grievance procedures and remedies. Policy 2660F, the complaint and dismissals and how the appeal process works. Policy 2660G was intentionally left blank. And policy 2660H are the training requirements and policy notice.
Any questions for Vice President Collins?
So when we adopt these, we'll be adopting them from, say, March through August 1st, or
Yes.
through July 31st?
The numbers
And then the
will
new
be-
numbers, the
And
new
the new
numbers will
numbers
take
take
over
effect.
August 1st.
August 1st, you got it. So a little confusing, but
Nope. I just want to make sure I had it.
yeah, it's the same, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else for Vice President Collins? All right, stay right there, Vice President Collins, because we move on to board reports. And
You'll be
first
tired
board
of hearing my
report is the Policy and Personnel Committee.
We
And I
met.
know a little bit about what
Guess
you've
what
been
we did?
working on.
We went through all of these policies. That was our entire agenda.
Well, thank you, and
Oh,
to the.
sorry, and we met last week, on Tuesday, the 4th. Thank you.
Thank you and the committee for the heavy lift on these new policies. We appreciate it. Treasurer Warzinski will have the Finance and Facilities Committee report.
Thank you, President Byrd. The Finance and Facilities Committee meeting met on Thursday, February 6th. We discussed 6 items. The first one was we welcomed our new Director of Finance, Scott Kemmer-Slater, who is with us tonight. We look forward to working with you. Next, we looked at athletic program finances and fundraising, and Superintendent Malley just discussed our different athletic programs and how the boosters work and how fundraising works for different sports. Third, we talked about our fund balance, and we looked at what our fund balance was historically and the new 12% goal that we're trying to maintain to make us more comparable to other districts in the county, or other schools in the county. Next, we also looked at special education funding. The special education is funded from a local special education millage and is distributed throughout the Ingham ISD, and ISD is changing this formula, and so we were learning about how this change will impact the district in the upcoming years. We then talked about the state of Michigan budget. Governor Whitmer shared a proposed budget increase, which we're looking forward to, but as we know, things may change at the state, so we talked about how we'll plan for our budget and then what contingencies we'll make. And that was it.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Next is a report on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
And Diane Limbert's got an update for us, so Diane.
Patrick and I met with the DEI coordinators from each building. That was last week. There were 4 things that we discussed. We actually discussed it first, some of the presidential executive orders. We then answered questions about how special education is funded in the county and explained the same thing. Special education funds come through our ISD, and that's what we're given for special education. We also talked about curriculum mapping, where we were with that, and then talked about, we do have a day that we're gonna work together. The equity coaches will come in and we'll work together on different projects. We're gonna look at the current equity plan and see what areas we maybe haven't touched yet. So that was it.
Thank you very much, Diane. Any questions for the Associate Superintendent? All right. right, thank you. Next is items from board members. Any board member have anything?
I have
See
one
Trustee
thing
Clark?
to add.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on February 5th, I attended the Ingham School Officers Association, which is a collection of school board representatives in the community. There's one representative from each school board that attends, and we kind of talk about different things that are going on in each of the communities and how each district is like updating different policies or strategies or, just different challenges that they might have. We had someone come in from MASP to kind of go over some of the new changes that are being proposed. Everything is speculative at the point, and we're kind of looking at funding, how funding might change. Everything right now is stable, but they're just kind of going through different possibilities with us and ways, that we could possibly be affected if the government decides to change some of the funding. So that was the meeting that we had. It was not a very optimistic meeting, but.
Thank you, Trustee Clark, appreciate it. Any other board members have anything?
I was able to attend one of the MASB sessions during their virtual winter meeting this last weekend. And I always learn, it's always great to hear from other school board members from around the state. I think what's really great is that it's now they have so many virtual options. And so it used to be when they would do these winter meetings, you had to go somewhere, and that was harder to do when my kids were little and try to get away for a weekend. So it was really nice to pick something on a Saturday night and learn from others. So I just want to thank the folks at MASB for keeping that an option and making their great sessions more accessible to their members.
Yeah. Thank you to MASB. Any other board members have anything? All right. We will move from board reports to correspondence and comments from the public. Secretary Polverento, do we have any correspondence?
So we had 2 emails to the board since our last meeting. The first was from Guillermo Lopez, who is one of the candidates for the open MASB seat, asking us to support him in his candidacy. And the other was from an MSU student who attended our strategic planning session last week, was there for part of the session as part of an assignment, and he had some follow-up questions, so he sent all of the questions to the board.
Thank you very much. And now we'll move to comments from the public. As I think everybody here knows, you're welcome to come. Please say your name, and you have 5 minutes to speak on any item or items of your choosing. This will not be a back and forth, but if there are comments or questions that come from these comments, either Superintendent Malley, Associate Superintendent Limbert, or myself will follow up later. Does anyone wish to speak tonight?
Well, good evening. My name is Susie Zook, and I have a couple different roles in the district. First, I'm a parent, and I'm also a resident of Haslett, but I'm here tonight as an educator in the district.
And I'm Shannon Merton. I'm a teacher in the district. I'm also the second vice president of our union. We're here also just in representing the union a little bit. We wanted to do a little bit of sharing things that are good going around our district, and a lot of things were shared already. You might already know about some of these things, but we thought we might spread some good cheer.
Just here to share some joy. So first,
I wanted to share a little bit about Wilkshire, and you might already know about this, but our amazing Jill Batten, our Empower teacher at Wilkshire, has been taking every single class on these kindness field trips, and you might have even encountered some of them wherever you are. But she's been working really hard on spreading kindness, and all the kids at school are so excited to go out into the community, be part of that, and it empowers them, makes them feel part of things. My kids are going tomorrow. We're really excited about it. So.
and our class has been on the receiving end of that, and it's just so energizing and fun and beautiful, and what a powerful, free way to just make a difference in the community. So thank you, Mrs. Batten, and all of the Wilkshire Vikings. At Murphy, Alia Rife, the music teacher, and various 4th and 5th grade students were invited to participate in an elementary honors choir, along with other elementary students in the area, and they will be performing at McDonald Middle School next month. So that's something that we would like to celebrate and highlight. At Raleigh Elementary, we have been hosting a Monday morning meeting every single day, or every single Monday of every week. And this is just a beautiful way for our whole entire school to come together to celebrate birthdays, to talk about things that are happening. This year, we've added in Haslett happenings, so we can celebrate and promote some of the district sporting events or other special music concerts that might be happening. And this year, for the first time ever, we are finishing every morning meeting with our Raleigh school song, but really special this year, we have interpreter Jennifer Cargill, who has taught our entire school how to sing the song in sign language. And then this morning at our morning meeting, because today is Monday, oh my gosh, we had our art teacher, Mrs. Rhodes, Heidi Rhodes, came up, and all of our 2nd through 5th graders shared the art pledge, and they also did that in sign language. So we're really working to incorporate a lot of diversity in different ways and sharing that and celebrating different abilities.
And you might not be aware of this, but we have a couple of teachers at the middle school who just recently completed their master's in education. So Brandon Cook and Randy Carpenter were able to do that. And the middle school and high school, their unified teams participated in the Winter Games in Traverse City recently. So, yeah, we just wanted to make
Tell
sure
you
you heard some
something
good. Thank
So,
you.
Yeah, there's lots of good happening, and we're happy to be part of that, so. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening?
Oh, 5 minutes, okay. I came to U.S. in May 1996, right after I got married in South Korea. I've lived here for almost 30 years, but only I recently heard about DEI. I'd like to share my opinion on it based on my personal experience and stories. My husband has worked in the chemistry department at MSU as a research associate since 1995. He initially planned to stay in U.S. for just 1 year research, but he worked at a significant discovery in his field. His research paper was published on the cover of Science Journal as a first author. Encouraged by his professor to continue his research, he decided to stay in the U.S., where he was eventually sponsored to get for a citizenship. Later, he established a chemical company based on the material discovered. I graduated from nursing college in South Korea. After I studied, I passed an NCLEX RN exam, allowing me work as a home care nurse. Since 2014, I've been running a home care agency. Currently, we serve 50 patients, employ almost more than 60 nurses and caregivers. We are contracted with the Michigan Health Department and provide service in Eaton and Clinton County, Ingham. And over the years, we have provided job opportunity for more than 400 people and paid a total of $184,000 in business PICA taxes last year. We are honored and proud to serve and contribute to our community through our business. My first daughter, Hannah, was born in 1998, weighed only 1 pound 2 ounces at 24 weeks gestation. She was later diagnosed with autism. She received a IEP individual education plan and lots of help from school and LINKS program. My family was incredibly grateful to the teacher and student parents who helped her along the way. She earned a bachelor's degree last summer and now works as a data entry technician at our agency. As a way of giving back to the community, we invite her entire class to a swimming pool party and treated them pizza and bowling. Some parents and students told us that the experience was valuable to them as well. Several of Hannah's peers were interested in medical careers, so I hired them at our agency to help them gain work experience. We continue to keep in touch with them. Most Korean children take ESL classes at school, and even parents can attend English classes through the adult learning program. I personally benefit from these classes when I first moved in the U.S. in 1996. I remain grateful to the support I received. But looking back, I have noticed a stark difference between the past and the present regarding DEI. Although the term DEI was not widely used in the past, I believe the principles were already being practiced in school and workplace. I never felt that my background or identity prevented me from advancing or participating in American society. However, today DEI is frequently discussed, yet in practice I feel it often creates new divisions or reverse discrimination instead of fostering genuine inclusion. For example, I recently spoke with some parents about a growing issue in school, the presence of students who identify as furries. Some students find distracting but feel unable to voice their concerns. Many teachers prefer to avoid confrontation, so some students have resorted to muffling their ears and ignoring the disruption. What started as an effort to respect everyone's choice has now created an environment where students who feel uncomfortable are afraid to speak up. Another example, my second daughter was so annoyed my first daughter who has autism. She felt she could not express her feelings when she felt I was focusing all my attention on my daughter with autism. I was not intentionally doing this, but I took her sacrifice for granted. And consequently, she felt that for her feeling did not matter and used ignorant skills for covering her feelings. I really don't want this to happen to our kids at school. All our kids are important, minority or majority. Sometimes I feel DEI is being used in ways that prioritize certain groups while intentionally excluding others. From my perspective and knowledge, furries and gender identity are choice people make, which are encountered through a person's ethnicity. In my opinion, I fully respect people's choice. Our agents provide this people too because they need a service, but with the choices also come responsibility to take care for others. So the approach should be different. Replacing one form of discrimination with another would never lead to a truly fair and safe and just community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to speak this evening?
Good evening, Jeff Kestner, Haslett resident. It appears that the board has agreed to reduce public comment at board meetings from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, a 40% reduction. I'm requesting an email stating the board members who voted for policy 2504 and those voting against. I will read that email at the board meeting on February 24th. The public has a right to know who voted to reduce their right to free speech by 40%. Here's some history on how this board decision was arrived at. At the January 7th policy meeting, a board member proposed reducing public comment from 5 to 3 minutes, a 40% reduction. The following reasons were given. Number one, during COVID, a lot of people were speaking. My response was, well, COVID ended 4 years ago. How is that even relevant? Number two, other schools in the area use 3 minutes. My response was, some schools use more than 3 minutes. Okemos allows 6 minutes for public comment, 3 at the beginning and 3 at the end. That is stated on the Okemos website. Additionally, the Michigan.gov website states, quote, public participation in the State Board of Education meetings will be limited to 5 minutes, end quote. Number three, people can connect with the board via emails. My response was, emails are not read during public comment. So after I exposed the reasons given to reduce public comment time as complete nonsense, the board member tells me, quote, Jeff, this policy is not directed at you, end quote. It's my view that the policy to reduce time for public comment and suppress free speech is directed at me, Jeff Kestner. I'm the only one that has attended and spoke at just about every board meeting over the last 5 years. I had the audacity to question the board's failed policy decisions, such as COVID lockdowns, masking, DEI, and the list goes on. And by the way, if you had listened to me, our students would not have suffered the largest learning loss in Haslett school history, would not have been forced to wear cloth masks that were shown then and now to be basically useless, and you wouldn't have spent all this time and money on DEI, which companies, universities, schools, and now the United States government is throwing on the trash heap of history. I'm also being targeted because I pulled back the curtain on staff training as it relates to DEI. I exposed the racism, anti-Semitism, and critical race theory contained within the training. Most of you had no idea what was even in the training and resented the fact that I had found out and continued to speak about it. Our superintendent held a town hall a few months ago, holds a coffee hour once a month at Blondie's Barn. Why? To solicit public comment, and you want to reduce public comment at board meetings by 2 minutes? So in conclusion, your action on Policy 2504 illustrates what this board is really about. It's about power, control, groupthink, and attempting to shut down those who voice opposition to your narrative. It will backfire. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kestner. Does anyone else wish to speak this evening?
Hello, Terry Geiersbach. I'll begin where I left off 2 weeks ago about how DEI, how we think it helps the marginalized. And as I mentioned, I totally understand working with the disadvantaged, as that's what I did. I was a special ed teacher I worked with those awesome students. But ask yourself, is it realistic? If in the end, everyone has the same amount of money, everyone has the same house, everyone has the same price car, where are we headed? Again, there could be some huge discussions on these topics. So, what's the purpose of our Haslett mission statements? Do they just get printed and posted, but not used? Why can't they be used as our school plan instead of DEI? It would be less expensive, less complicated, and more realistic and down to earth. Here are most of our mission statements. Here you've got maintaining a safe and orderly environment, learning environment. That sounds great. Helping students of all abilities and aspirations grow. Producing students who are confident and caring and competent. Sounds great. Having a strong curriculum and relevant co-curricular activities. And of course, technology, which we all love. And core values, patterns of behaviors based on core values such as respect, responsibility, and citizenship. So, I guess what is missing? So what's missing? Seems that all the education areas are covered right here. Haslett could build on their own mission statements by adding a few goals or subtitles. If a parent feels it's important for their child to have friends of a different culture and language, a goal could be added under the mission statement that mentions having caring students here in Haslett. If a parent wants their child to be more sympathetic or inclusive to others in his or her class, look to the core values mission statement under the word respect and add more goals and subtitles. My point is that we don't need the DEI crutch to accomplish these goals as if we couldn't survive without them. Now, sometimes prepackaged items are a good thing. A prepackaged home building kit helps the family by following step-by-step instructions, absolutely necessary. Or for a while, people have been ordering prepackaged meals. And again, it's important to follow the step-by-step instructions that come with the food in the prepackaged box. DEI almost seems like a prepackaged plan. And this is what I disagree with. We don't need a step-by-step prepackaged plan to follow here in Haslett. It makes us look like we can't make any decisions ourselves, and we're pushing creativity right out the window. And again, someone needs to explain to me why we're hanging on to DEI when it's disappearing out in the real world. Actually, I would like an email sent to me because I really don't understand why we're continuing when it's disappearing in the real world once they graduate. And lastly, there's a huge lawsuit happening right now. You can look it up. The title is FAA Embroiled in a Lawsuit Alleging It Turned Away 1,000 applicants based on race that contributed to their staffing woes. These men scored 100 on their tests, but then they had to fill out a second questionnaire. And that's where it was unrelated to their piloting skills. It was all those other questions. Hence, they were not hired, creating an unnecessary shortage with pilots and air traffic controllers. Had they been hired, their staffing positions would have all been filled. We all know we're in crazy times, and here's another prime example. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to speak this evening?
So, Terry Goldberg, Westminster Way. I think most of you guys know me. By hearing what Jeff Kestner said about limiting from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, I guess I have to go back now and applaud Mr. Cook, because Mr. Cook, I didn't agree with him on a lot of different things. But one thing he didn't do, and one thing he did do, is he sat there and took everybody's criticism like a man. He took it. You could tell him on his face he didn't like it. So I guess I'm confused. We've done 5 minutes forever. But since you, Mr. Mail, you came in, now we got to go from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Now, I'm not sure if it's because you got a long ride home. I understand because of your contract, you're supposed to have moved here by now, was part of the deal, and you're not, you haven't moved here yet, from what I understand. I'm not sure what time frame they gave you for you to move to the area, but that's part of the deal, from what I understand. But when some of you guys, so you didn't campaign, but when you guys campaigned, did you tell your constituents that you asked for their vote that you were going to limit their free speech when it comes to the podium to come up and talk and address their issues? Whether you like it or not, it's still, we're the community. And that's another thing too, is when you had your town hall here, I came here, you were gonna be more transparent with the community, not just the students and the parents who go here, but the community, the entire community is what pays the bills. We're the one paying for it. I mean, everybody's involved, so we have a say as well. So for you guys to limit our 5 minutes to 3 minutes, I think some of you are just too thin-skinned to hear it, and it's too bad because that's what you signed up for. Good or bad, that's what you signed up for. So I would like an email to find out who voted to take away our time and freedom of speech amongst the school board members. I would like that. I appreciate that. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening?
Hi, everyone. My name is Gina Henry. I am a parent of a high schooler and another child who graduated some years ago. I've been listening to a lot of the information about DEI today and some voices against it. There seems to be a lot of angst around this. So I wanted to bring up some outcomes of DEI that many of us use in our everyday lives. Ramps and sidewalk curbs for easier access for those who use wheelchairs or otherwise have trouble navigating curbs or steps. Floating paid holidays, so people can celebrate the holidays that are important to them, even when those holidays don't align with those that are typically derived from Christian traditions. Elimination of the gay panic or trans panic defense, because it doesn't make sense that someone can kill another person just because they tell that person that they like them. Flexible work arrangements, because your life doesn't look like my life or priorities, and your life doesn't look like their life and priorities. Belt extenders on planes, because everyone has a right to be safe regardless of their size. Paternity leave, because fathers also have the right to get to know and bond with the children that they are entrusted with caring for. On March 25th, 1911, the Triangle Shirtwaist Company fire killed 146 workers due to, among other things, poor ventilation, narrow stairways, and poor lighting. No overhead sprinklers. In addition to that, the company had padlocked all but one exit from the building. This led directly to development of efforts toward fire safety, factory inspection, and safety rules that ultimately led to the development of OSHA. Yes, OSHA is a DEI effort Because when a society's goal is capitalism, someone has to be enforcing the understanding that human life is worth more than the profit a company makes. Subtitles and captioning that might be needed for any number of reasons. The deaf and hard of hearing community, but also those who understand better through printed word. I happen to have to use it because I spent a little too much time listening to Metallica on headphones as a teenager. Individualized education plans, that was brought up a little bit ago by another community commenter. There's talk of DEI creating division. DEI doesn't create division. The politicizing of DEI creates division. In these times of uncertainty and fear and division, I would ask you and other members of the community to consider any situation where you might have to answer the question, who do you want to leave out? Because when you don't consider DEI and the needs of the people in the community, you are essentially answering that question, whether you intend to or not. And now picture that person. And picture saying to their face, you're the one I want to leave out.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to speak this evening? Seeing none, we will move on to our next agenda item, which is one action item, and that is the MASB 2025 Board of Directors election. The board has been asked to choose between one of three candidates that are up for a 3-year term to represent Region 7, of which we are a part of. And we have received information on those candidates. I think as Secretary Polverento mentioned earlier this evening, we received an email from one of the candidates. And at this time, I would, if there's any member that would like to nominate one of those three candidates for Board of Directors Region 7, I would take that nomination.
I move to nominate Guillermo Lopez to the Board of Directors for Region 7 for the Michigan Association of School Boards.
And do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Trustee Clark. We have a motion and a second to elect Guillermo Lopez as our choice for the Board of Directors Region 7. We will take that vote. And all those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. That motion passes. We now move on to our consent agenda for the evening. We have several items. I will read them. First is the approval of minutes for the January 27th regular board meeting. Second is the approval of minutes for the January 27th closed session meeting. Third is the approval of minutes for the February 4th board workshop. Excuse me. Fourth is the approval of minutes for the February 4th Policy and Personnel Committee meeting. Fifth is the approval of minutes for the February 6th Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. Sixth is the approval of new and revised board policies, the 2000 series. And last, number 7, is approval of the Haslett Middle School 8th grade field trip to Cedar Point. Would any member like any of the items under the consent agenda pulled?
I'm not sure how you would prefer to do this, President Byrd, but I will be voting against the 2000 series adoption, not because this committee didn't do amazing work and was very gracious in reaching out and discussing everything individually, but the goal, the correct goal that the public comment can't overwhelm the work that the board needs to do. I think there were other ways to achieve that without limiting it from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, so I'll be voting against it. But my bigger one is that I think as we're reviewing everything at the same time, as I shared with Member Collins, I don't think I can support changing anything that deviates significantly from what we had before, because I don't think it gives the community enough time to really grasp that we're changing something dramatically. So I just wanted to kind of set that as a framework. So I'm voting against the 5 minutes to 3 minutes, but more so, I don't think we should necessarily make big changes to our policy as we're doing an entire policy review. But that's just my opinion on that. And I can see the other side of it too. Hey, since we're already doing this, why not update them? I can totally see that, under that too. So however you wanted to proceed with that.
Okay, thank you very much. So would any member like any item pulled from the consent agenda this evening? If not, all those in favor of the 6 items under the consent agenda, say aye. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I can't do that without a motion. My apologies. I need a motion for approval of the 7 items under tonight's consent agenda.
I will move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for the 7 items under the consent agenda. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed. Thank you. The consent agenda for this evening is adopted. Now, next on our agenda is at the request of Superintendent Malley, we need a motion for the board to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing union contract negotiations pursuant to provisions of the Open Meetings Act. So I will take a motion to go into closed session for that purpose.
I move that we go into closed session.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to move into closed session. All those, is this a roll call? Yes, this is a roll call.
Trustee Clark? Yes. Trustee Wazinski?
Yes.
Vice President Collins?
Yes.
Trustee Polverento?
Yes.
Trustee Fritz?
Yes.
Trustee Stoliker?
Yes.
President Byrd?
Yes. So we will now move into closed session. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight.